used for the International Justice Mission.
As these compounds get pushed further inward from the Thai border, the local providers in Myanmar become less reliable and aren't able to handle all the bandwidth that you would need to run a large-scale scam operation. So other ways to connect to the internet become more important.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
More from townhall.com.
There's a moment nobody talks about with weight loss. It's the moment it stops working. The diet that worked before doesn't. Eating less stops moving the scale. That's not random. When your body's under stress, it slows your metabolism. That's why quick fixes eventually fail. At PhD Weight Loss, they focus on restoring your metabolism. And right now, when you call and mention Mike G, you'll get 2 free weeks and they'll pay for the cost of your food. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com.
Of all the wireless companies in America, only one has 5 stars in every category from Consumer Reports, and that company is Pure Talk. Coverage, support, value, data. 5 stars across the board. Plus, no service contracts and no cancellation fees. Just phenomenal U.S. customer service on a crazy fast 5G network. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to a 5-star American wireless company that won't.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
You feel it every time you check out. Prices up, paychecks stretched, families squeezed. That's why Ann Wagner's fighting to get government off your back and out of your way. Wagner passed the largest tax cut in American history, expanded child tax credits, ended taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And Wagner is working to lower costs so families keep more of their hard-earned money. But Ann Wagner knows delivering for Missouri means more than just protecting their wallets. It means protecting our streets as well. That's why Wagner fought to secure our border, deport dangerous illegal aliens, partner with law enforcement, and put predators behind bars and off our streets so our neighborhoods and communities stay safe. Because real effective leadership protects what matters most: your money, your family, your safety. Ann Wagner for Congress.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Looking to celebrate the 4th of July with a bang? Then look no further than Powder Monkey Fireworks. We've got bottle rockets, fountains, cakes, mortars. Our selection is endless with low prices and no gimmicks. Our friendly, knowledgeable staff will help you choose the perfect fireworks to make your holiday unforgettable. You'll go bananas at Powder Monkey, Highway 94 in St. Charles, on Westwood in Weldon Spring, and on Brendel in Rocky Mount. Don't want to fight the crowds? Order online at powdermonkeyfireworks.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Unfortunately, no good news in the forecast. We're still in for lots of heat, a lot of sunshine too today. A high temperature of about 97 and that heat index up to 105 or 106 this afternoon. No rain in the forecast. Lows tonight near the 80-degree mark and a high tomorrow up to about 98. Sunny skies. Then, beginning on Thursday and each day through the weekend, we have low afternoon rain chances for some bubble-up type thunderstorms here and there, which will help with the heat, but not the humidity. In the First Alert Weather Center, I'm KMOV meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo & Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Tuesday afternoon here on Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Holy, you think a normal day is busy in the news cycle these days. Today we've got a lot going on and a lot to talk about as we go through the afternoon. Got a lot of great company coming over to help us unpack all of this. What a perfect day to talk to our legal expert, Susie Moore, of course, the co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning every weekday here on News Talk STL. Also with Red State. You can read her articles every day at redstate.com. Susie is an attorney, and we lean on her for information and insight and explanation of legal issues, Supreme Court news, lawsuits, all the legal wranglings that happen throughout the year every week. She's with us on Tuesday, sometimes a little bit more than that when we need some extra help on a different day. And today it is a perfect day to talk to Susie with all of this Supreme Court news being made. Not just today, the major rulings coming down today, but also still some reaction and fallout from some of the rulings that we saw yesterday, specifically that ruling about mail-in ballots out of Mississippi that continues to get criticized by many conservatives and a lot of people that are just trying to, I think, bring some clarity back to Election Day laws. This one, I think, shocked a lot of folks. So there's that. And then, of course, we have the major rulings today regarding transgender athletes in sports. That was a good one. There's a solid common sense ruling that we can get behind. Boys shouldn't be playing girls' sports. Hello. Also a ruling on campaign contributions and limits. That hasn't got a whole lot of attention, but another important one there. And then, of course, the birthright citizenship ruling that was handed down today that has obviously gotten the most reaction, the most conversation, and rightfully so. Also, not as cut and dry as I thought it was going to be. I was expecting this ruling. I wasn't rooting necessarily for this ruling, but I was expecting it. But it was a lot closer. I actually kind of had it in my head that they weren't really taking it that seriously. That it was because it would be just very easy to go, hey, come on. We all learned this in first grade. We know how this works. Get out of here with this. There's a 5-4 decision. And even that 5-4 decision isn't that simple because Brett Kavanaugh, who was one of those 5 on the majority, actually wrote his own opinion that doesn't necessarily agree with everything in the majority ruling. He wrote his concurring opinion, and some are saying that ruling by Kavanaugh and what he said in his official ruling kind of gives a path forward for the folks that are trying to change the birthright citizenship law. So there's a lot of nuance there, a lot of nuance and a lot of context. What a surprise. It's not all just black and white. We say this all the time. The context and the nuance of these issues are the important things. The conversation about the details are the important things when you want to understand and get to the bottom of and make the right decisions on these issues. And it's not as simple as it looks and as simple as some would like to make it. So there's a lot to unpack with those Supreme Court rulings as we go through the afternoon. We also have new information, statements, actions, reactions coming out of the agreement with Iran. Whole new set of issues there to talk about as we go through the afternoon. We've got the upcoming elections here in the state of Missouri, the August primaries getting closer each and every day, the conversations around Amendment 4 and Amendment 5, and, the conversations that should be being had around some of the other issues, like Amendment 1, which is another massively important one, especially for somebody like me who's wants to protect our parks and our outdoor spaces around the state of Missouri. So there's all of those things to talk about as we go through the afternoon as well. As I mentioned, we do have a lot of help, a lot of great people that'll be joining us today to help forward the conversation and unpack all of these things. I mentioned Susie Moore from Red State and Mike Ferguson in the morning. She will be with us in a little less than an hour from now, just after 3 o'clock. Also in the 3 o'clock hour, Tuesday afternoons means we're going to talk AI with our AI expert, Mike McClary from Intervine. Always educational and informative, insightful conversation when we talk AI with Mike, so looking forward to that. And right now, joining us on the line, as he does every Tuesday afternoon, as we try to figure out all of these important issues in this crazy, crazy world, the great Crane Durham is with us. And Crane, on a day where the Supreme Court made a whole lot of news, it's important to remember, brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
Hold me, baby. There is a lot out there. And things are going by.
You know,
the fire hose is on. Be careful when you take a sip.
Yeah, hold me tight and keep me safe through all the madness. It's like, where do you want to start? I obviously going to get into some of these Supreme Court rulings with Susie Moore, but this is the biggest news of the day, I think. So let's start with some of these. Let's start with a positive. Let's start with at least in my opinion, what is a positive, and the transgender ruling. The Supreme Court ruling with a couple of states saying that states are within their rights to ban boys from playing girls' sports. This is one of those 80-20, maybe 90-10 issues that it's pretty amazing that this has to go to the Supreme Court to have, to make this decision. But a win nonetheless for common sense. What do you think of this transgender ruling today?
I think common sense wins out, and I'm glad that happened. I think it's really important. You said an 80-20 issue, and maybe a 90-10, maybe a 95-5 issue, and just a very loud minority of people that are just confused or willfully ignorant. Now, I'm thinking to myself, reminds me, not exactly, but what happened with the marriage decision. Now, I know that's over 2015. I get it, but they redefined a word, and they acted more as a legislator than they did a court there, okay? Here, I think they acted as a court, less a legislator, but it's going to impact, obviously, the states. And from what I understand, it just gives the states the right to separate. And so that's great. I think it's a victory for common sense. I don't know how a party claims to be, and I'm speaking of the leftist Democrats, a party for women and then violates women and in Title IX. I just, changes in essence the idea of definition of sex. It's pretty clear. And what worries me is, if I look at a decision I don't like, I like to look at the decision, or if I like it, the opinions, and I'm like, okay, are they using the law to do this? And that to me is the substance of the issue. Are they going to the law? And I don't mean to go on about this, but I have to just draw a comparison here, okay? Back in 2010, 09, obviously 08, after 08, the beginning of the Tea Party, a lot of people demonize the Tea Party. I know not you, but a lot of people historically have done that. And it's completely wrong to do that for so many. You can disagree, but they're talking about getting back to the Constitution and the powers of the federal government and the spending, and they were all about that. And it gave us more liberty, more ordered liberty. Now, that's maybe a conservative movement. Oh, it's the right-wing movement, right? And then you got the left wing over here, and their solution coming together is to undermine our institutions, which I think not started, but certainly piggybacked on, whether it was BLM and false narratives, taking false narratives and moving them forward in order to achieve a place where we are not, our rights don't come from God, they come from government, and government has more power over us, and a complete failure in the sense of the system and the death toll and everything else. And so I just think it's interesting. So 2010, highlight Tea Party, then you go over here, it's 2026, and you've got the socialists. What have we done to do that?
It's funny that you bring that up, Crane, because I think there's actually some there's actually a comparison to be made about. So you're right about the Tea Party. The Tea Party movement at the beginning, when it was all about taxes, and it was very. It got a lot of momentum and it got a lot of support. My criticism with the Tea Party was over time, as they expanded and grew, they started to get involved in every issue, and it started to become kind of like what I criticize the left for now, of being like, you're either with us or against us. You can't agree 80% of the time. You can't agree 90% of the time. You have to agree 100% of the time. And I think that is part of the reason that after a very positive, strong beginning and a lot of good things coming out of it in the beginning, that ultimately led to why the Tea Party doesn't exist now and why it's sort of shut down. That is my opinion. Is that it kind of I don't know if it got taken over by the wrong people, got too big, too
lost its focus.
Yeah, lost its focus.
What
Exactly.
From you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that is exactly what that could be a lesson to be learned. But obviously not being learned by this extreme progressive left. Now, they don't have anything else in common, these two. These two movements have nothing else in common, but I'm just saying that,
and one goes to a park.
It's funny that you bring that up because of that commonality. But go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. But the idea is, well, they go to a protest. The place is cleaner when they leave.
Yes.
Versus thugs have beaten up, people that are merely beat up the press and tear gas or whatever it is, and they're refusing to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and lead by and try to lead through fear. The progressive left. We talked a lot about this yesterday. I mean, and this is nothing new. We've been talking about this forever. But they don't run for anything. They run against things, and the party that they claim to be the party of love and inclusion are actually the most hateful, divisive people that I can remember at a major political level. The whole, you're either all in or you are all against us. And that gets to get back to the trans ruling here. For that's listen. Me, extremely libertarian. Wear what you dig, love who you want to love, dress how you want to dress. I don't care about any of that stuff. But boys don't go in girls' locker rooms. Boys don't play on the girls' sports teams. It's not a rights. It's not a trans rights issue. It's not your right to be a biological man that's changing in the girls' locker room and competing on the girls' gymnastics team. That's not what this is, and that's why I'm glad to see that this ruling did come down today. 6-3 ruling. Just to give a little context here, Brett Kavanaugh authored the majority opinion, joined by Chief Justice John Roberts, as well as Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Amy Coney Barrett. Quote, "The question before the court is, under Title IX and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, may schools maintain women's and girls' sports for biological females. In other words, may schools determine eligibility for women's and girls' sports based on biological sex? The answer is yes. Kavanaugh's opinion read. It continued, quote, in so ruling, we emphasize one last point. Most of the biological female and transgender students who are involved in transgender sports disputes around the country are teenagers or in their early 20s. Those student athletes want to play sports. Their desire to compete warrants respect. No student athlete on either side of the issue, whether a biological female or transgender, deserves to be ostracized or vilified. So there's the ruling, 6-3 in favor of states banning boys from playing girls' sports, and I think the right decision in the end.
I have a knee-jerk reaction.
Please.
And I don't know. Sometimes I sit there and go, I really am not living up to my values if I say this, but so I can't call Leah Thomas a cheater. Because I don't think that person, obviously under law gets all the respect and everything else.
Yeah.
But
they are not a female women's collegiate champion. Absolutely not.
And
Absolutely not.
And it's wrong.
Yeah.
And it makes me sick to my stomach. And the same thing for people that injure other people and sit there and play dumb. Like, oh, what are you talking about? I mean, this started, the genesis of this, not over time, because we can go way back, but it would be under Eric Holder's, Barack Obama's fundamental transformation of America. And they were having boys going into girls' locker rooms. And that's where it started. And then the people who were pointing that out, were villains. Awful. And we were
as you mentioned earlier,
coming down. This is going to grow. They're not leaving here.
The pro-woman party is only pro-women unless that woman says, I don't want boys in my locker room. It's the pro, minority party right up until a black person says that they're going to vote for Donald Trump. Now all of a sudden, they hate that. They hate those people. Like, it's just, not the party of inclusion and love and tolerance. The party of hate and division.
Well, where are we headed, Tony? Because you've been on the front lines of this from the beginning with the BLM riot.
We got a lot. You know what? Where are we headed? It's up to us to make that decision in August and in November, and it's up to these parties to connect with the people and deliver for them. And neither one of these parties have been doing that lately. So that's going to be
if anybody
the important
ever wonders
thing.
Why anybody ever wonders why I'm holding on to this guy right there.
You know it, baby. Well, we got a lot now. All right, that was the easy one. Now we're going to get into the birthright citizenship ruling and all of the fallout and reaction to it. So I want to unpack that as we continue the conversation with Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com. Crane is with us for this entire 2 o'clock hour on a busy Tuesday afternoon here on Colombo and Company on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This whole thing's got me thinking about how privileged I've been. America's a wonderful country. If I were a black man, I'd be furious. We're getting frustrated.
Number one for live and local
conservative talk.
There's certain issues that we need improvement. They would rather have this country on its knees than be successful.
news, analysis, opinion.
We have common sense, and the Democrats have none.
101.9 and 94.1.
And I appreciate the discussion.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Celebrate America's 250th anniversary with Monty's Family Fireworks in Troy, Missouri. Located at the corner of Highway 47 and Fairgrounds Road, Monty's Family Fireworks has the best prices in town. You'll get the most bang for your buck with a fantastic selection of fountains, bottle rockets, cakes, firecrackers, and assortments. Along with friendly and knowledgeable service that'll help you find what you need to put on a great show. So come on by Monty's Family Fireworks in Troy and get ready to have a blast this 4th of July.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story, covering 2 of Pope John's trips to the USA.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company. Tony Colombo in studio today with producer Johnny, as Ashlyn is out for a few days. Her brother graduating from boot camp. And again, big congratulations to Ashlyn and her family, and passing on a lot of well wishes. And thanks for RJ's service. She'll be back with us next week. Continuing the conversation right now with Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com as we go through this very busy day, reacting to all the news happening out there, including these major Supreme Court rulings. This birthright citizenship ruling has been one of the headline cases and one of the rulings that week after week we've been waiting for, talking about with Susie Moore and others, and it finally came down today. Susie Moore will be with us in about a half an hour. We'll get her thoughts on this. But Crane, today the U.S. Supreme Court ruled against President Donald Trump's effort to end birthright citizenship, striking also down the president's executive order. The court was split 5-4 in the decision, which actually surprised me. With Justices Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Justice Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Neil Gorsuch writing dissenting opinions. The decision concluded Executive Order 14160 violates the 14th Amendment, guaranteeing automatic American citizenship for virtually anyone born in the United States, including those born to mothers who are in the country illegally. There's been a lot of reaction from both sides. Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullen blasted the decision in a statement today. Meanwhile, the DNC fawned over the ruling. In a statement, DNC Chair Ken Martin blasted Trump's effort as racist, saying, quote, "Since his first days in office, Donald Trump has sought to recycle racist, debunked legal arguments to strip away the constitutional rights of American citizens born to immigrant parents. Today he failed." They are very happy on the left about this ruling, Crane, and they are letting you know about it. There's plenty more. There's a lot more reaction. I got a lot more quotes. I got a lot more to this, but I want to get your thoughts on the ruling and your first thoughts and reactions when you saw the news come down today. Were you surprised? Were you upset? What do you think of this ruling?
I wasn't surprised, and I wasn't encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that actually on the flip side, I am encouraged with the fact that the possibility of Congress being able to do this and make it happen, as opposed to a constitutional amendment.
I'm not
And
sure I
with the focus
count on
the,
Congress to do anything, but
well, yeah,
there
but
are
again,
some
this is
motivated. There is some motivation there, so maybe you're right.
Yeah, and again, the more we talk about these issues like voter ID, the more people are like, wait a second, there's nothing racist about voter ID, unless you're racist and you think some people are incapable.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the
And,
racist part of that argument. You're
yeah,
exactly right.
It's total projection. Yeah, so I get the idea, because this is the cottage industry, and I look forward to hearing the interview, because going through the subject of the jurisdiction thereof, and understanding that, and how diplomats were excluded. Susie Moore obviously will be able to answer those questions and how it works. But here's the point that I think where we get into the land of idiocy when it comes to the discussion on immigration is not about race. And the only way people can win their arguments of not enforcing the law, in the sense of, apart from this, because now the Supreme Court has ruled, I get it, but the only way they do that is they can't win it on the facts about enforcing the law, so they'll demonize ICE, which is ridiculous and awful and disgusting, and they will make it about something it's not. And I think that's the important thing. Now, it might take longer. Obviously, it's going to take longer for Congress to do it. But there is a total industry dedicated to this. And I'm not looking at people who are trying to exploit that system as, well, what's going to happen? Are they going to assimilate? Okay. I mean, when you come to, we have an ordered process. I support legal immigration as it benefits the United States.
Yeah, as do I.
Assimilation is a huge problem.
Right.
And if we don't, we might end up like what we're seeing over in Europe. And they're the canary in the coal mine.
Speaking of
I
Europe,
don't like that.
Speaking of Europe, this idea of it's racist if you don't have birthright citizenship is just wild, because it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with how a country wants to, the decision a country is going to make about who is a citizen, how do you qualify to be one, and how do you not. And every country on earth has to make that decision. And the vast majority do not use birthright citizenship as a way to do that. So, I want to kind of get into that here in just a minute, but you touched on another important one there, that, the idea that they've brought ICE into this, and immigration reform. Like, this is the path that the Democrats want to go down to confuse the issue and all of these things, when it's not that. It's not race. It's not about race. It's about how a country wants to determine what qualifies you to be a citizen. And that's what we need to come down to. And I think, and we'll get deeper into this with Susie, but I think the crux of this situation is that this part of this issue did not exist when the Constitution was written. Yeah. And so the idea is, what the spirit of the law, and that seems to be where the trickiness of this is, because if it's not specifically in there, is it appropriate or not to try to rule or make law on what you've decided is the spirit of the law? And that's why so many people are now saying, okay, and that's where the Brett Kavanaugh part of this comes. Because Brett Kavanaugh, he agreed with the majority, but he went out of his way in his ruling to say, look, he didn't demonize the executive order. He didn't even shoot down the executive order. He just said, look, if we're just looking by the word of the Constitution, this is not in there. And if and basically encouraged lawmakers to say, if you want this to be the law, then you need to make it the law. You need to put the specific language in there. And so it was all about, that interpretation that it seemed to be that it came down to, at least how I understand it. And again, we'll get more from Susie on that. But what are your thoughts?
Well, that from what I've heard and looked at with the majority opinion, from what I gather, they're stretching the 14th Amendment and they're seeing things. It reminds me a lot of any time the left does something. They see things that are not there, okay? And they reach in those places and they grab rights out of those. And they'll strain a particular, stretch a particular piece of the Constitution and say that it applies to something that it does not, in my opinion, in that way. And so that's what it comes down to, the legal arguments. Here's something that bothers me a lot. The left looks at the Supreme Court and they say if they get a decision they agree with, oh, they're great. Yeah, they did the right thing. And yeah, that's wonderful.
Right.
And if they don't, these people are, burning small.
It's time to
trees on
throw them
people's
out.
lawns.
It's time to
Yeah,
pack the
throw 'em
court.
out.
It's time to.
This is sick. They're radical. They're not. Call them Nazis.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
whatever it may be.
Yeah, and then the very next day they could be an American hero. Like
yes, and I think most of us will look at it and say, okay, what does the decision say? What does the law say? Are they stretching something they should not? And thank God we've got people like Susie Moore who can say, look, yeah, Congress can do this, and within the majority opinion, you will get that because it's coming from. He's setting that up. So the issue's not going away. And I think the more we all focus on the fact that the premise that this is about race is false.
Yeah.
And when you bend into that in any way, and it's real tough because a lot of time, tough in the sense of arguing a point, say, I don't accept your premise. This is not about brown people or people that are lighter or white or whatever. It's about the law. And that's what we need to do. We need to make it about that. Unfortunately, if we do that, the left really doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Well, here's just a little context on that exact point from around the world that maybe some of the progressive left may want to educate themselves on before they keep popping off about this. Because if birthright citizenship is a sign of racism, then the whole world is racist, basically. Here's just a little bit of research. And this research took me about 15 minutes. So it's not something, that you have to dig real deep on to just educate yourself on these things. Most Western countries do not allow for no regulation birthright citizenship. The vast majority of European, African, and Asian countries rely on traditional blood right to determine citizenship, meaning citizenship only passes from parents to children and ignores place of birth entirely. In the European Union, no member state grants automatic, unconditional citizenship to children born to foreigners. According to Google, only 35 countries on Earth offer unrestricted birthright citizenship, and there's 197 countries on Earth officially recognized by the U.S. It's 195 that are officially recognized by the UN because they don't recognize Kosovo or Taiwan. But so according to that thought process and according to that math, then 82.3% of the world is racist because they don't allow unrestricted birthright citizenship. That includes every country except 2 in Africa, every country except 1 in Asia, every country in the EU, and every country in the Middle East. That's a lot of racism, Crane, if that's what this is truly about. And if it is, why are the Democrats attacking Africa and Asia for all the racism?
Well, then you'd look for intellectual consistency, and there you go. It also begs the question, if we had any kind of balance in the media, wouldn't these questions be asked to people making these charges?
Yeah. You would think.
Yeah.
Crane, we got to take another quick break here and talk to Crane During from nothingbutTruth.com. I do want to go down the path of and explain this Brett Kavanaugh ruling because it does open up the path for what could be next. There are already statements and Republican politicians that have been making their plans known. It seems to be two paths forward. One is to attempt to just create another constitutional amendment, but according to Brett Kavanaugh, and at least the reports from the legal experts that I've been reading, it doesn't necessarily take an entirely new constitutional amendment to put a law like this in place. So there's a lot to unpack on this ruling as we continue. I also want to, before we run out of time with Crane, I want to talk about some of the latest things coming out of Iran and get his thoughts on where we're at with this negotiation that just feels like it's not on the right path to me. And day by day, it doesn't get any better. So a lot to talk about as we continue through this busy Tuesday afternoon with Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. Next.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Kuwait coming under attack from Iranian missiles.
The negotiation itself is going very well.
Our demands here are pretty simple. Don't make nuclear bombs.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Gutter Pros is your place to go if you are having any issues, obviously, with your gutters at your home or business. They're the Gutter Pros, duh. But they do so much more than just gutters. It's also any siding issues that you have at your home or business. If you need siding repair or siding replacement or fascia soffit work at your home or business, they do it all at the Gutter Pros. And of course, we've seen some pretty rough weather this spring. We're not out of the woods yet. And so if you have an issue with your gutters, or maybe you have some damage on your sidings, cracks, holes on your siding, and every time it rains, there's water and moisture getting back behind where it should not be. That is a problem, and that can become very damaging and very costly down the line if you don't do something about it. Same thing with your gutters. If they are not draining properly, if they are one of the biggest signs that there could be something wrong, if your gutters are at all separated from your home, and sometimes it's only by, a fraction of an inch. But again, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get more damaging for your home or business down the road the longer that goes unchecked. That's why I love the free estimates offer from Gutter Pros. It's one of the best services that they have because they'll come out absolutely free. If you think there might be a problem, if you're worried in any way, call them, have them come out, take a look, see what's going on. If there's not a problem, great. Now you know that, you have that peace of mind, and it didn't cost you anything. If there is a problem, then they can identify it for you, explain it to you, and give you your options, to move forward. And then you make the best decision for your home, for your business, for your budget. And again, at least you're armed with that peace of mind as you move forward. Again, if it's anything to do with your gutters, your siding, fascia, soffit, all of it, you need to call the team at Gutter Pros. Learn more and contact them now just by going to the website, gutterpros.com.
Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care and more in the greater St. Louis region and at the Lake of the Ozarks. Visit hansonstree.com for 24/7 emergency tree care, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch, green resource recycling, and more. Tim Jones here to tell you that whether you're dealing with old man winter at your home or business in the St. Louis region or preparing your lake home for spring, call Hanson's to help you out. No job too big or too small. Mention News Talk STL. Receive 10% off all tree care services. hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here, and for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service, from 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products. 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peter's, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Got about 15 minutes left here with Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com, and we're going to talk to our legal expert, Susie Moore from RedState.com, and of course, Susie's also the co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning and an attorney. She's our legal expert here on the show, so what a perfect day to talk to Susie as we unpack these Supreme Court rulings. But Crane, I want to change gears before we run out of time this week with you, and I want to talk about where we are at with these negotiations with Iran. Yesterday I was mentioning that I wrote down a bunch of headlines yesterday, and if you just read the headlines from various news outlets, the big headlines of the day regarding Iran, you'd be so confused by just reading the headlines because they're so contradictory about whether or not we're on the right path or who's the one calling the shots. It just is there's a lot of confusion and a lot of concern as this has played out. Before I get into any of the new specifics of the day, how are you feeling in general about the path that we're on in this peace agreement and this negotiation, this 60-day negotiation period that we're in with Iran right now?
I am convinced that inevitably they're going to have to take out the Iranian regime. Mm-hmm. The IRGC cannot stay in power, and because they're not going to give up the Straits of Hormuz. And I understand, I could be critical of the president when the communication on this issue, but when you talk about a policy or the memorandum of understanding, you understand that Trump is fluid in these issues. So he might have a position one day, and then you'll interpret that, and then you'll come back the other way where he says, no, we'll blow him to sky high. And you get Marco Rubio, and God bless Marco Rubio. He's coming out and saying, look, these are the deals, and if they do the same thing, we're going to look at their actions. Mm-hmm. Let's look at their actions. That's all you have to do. And if you look at their actions, they're not really abiding by the ceasefire. They're playing games. President Trump, we don't know, but we do know he took action. And he took out the nuclear threat in the short term. And he's the only president to do that. So I always give President Trump some leeway there. And I'll speak out when he goes after Israel because that's ridiculous. But then again, after he went after Israel, along with J.D. Vance, they came up with the Lebanese agreement with Israel and the United States. And about Hamas, which is, it's got a lot of American blood on their hands, and go back to 1983 and go forward. So it's interesting talking about this, Tony, because my attitude is, I don't know what the regime falling looks like, but inevitably that's going to happen because these nut bars haven't changed their idea about bringing back the 12th Imam and having a Armageddon cataclysmic moment to do that. They are dedicated to a nuclear program. And some of the language says that in the MOU says that they can have a nuclear program. They just can't
have a nuclear weapon
to a certain amount.
Yeah.
And originally it was like, no, you can't have a nuclear program. They shouldn't have a nuclear program because what are they going to do?
Yeah.
They don't have one. So it's one of those questions that we go on and on, but we have a problem in the world with a state that looks for a genocidal Armageddon that is you can't negotiate without the threat of force and regime change.
Yeah.
And inevitably you got to get those people out. And I pray that happens.
And I sound like a broken record on this, and I'm going to continue to sound like a broken record on this. That the amount of leverage and power and how much we've allowed them to dictate how this is playing out is unbelievable to me. And the biggest criticism that I have, and listen, I know there's a difference between what a country says to the media and what is really happening behind the scenes. But that doesn't change the fact that Iran has been every day. There's headlines every day about how the Iranian foreign minister or the Iranian president or supreme leader, is making demands and saying, this is the way it's going to go. Like today, one of the headlines, Iran tells UN nuclear watchdog chief to stop issuing political statements. Another headline, Iran says interim deal must be implemented before final U.S. talks can begin. Last week, I read headlines about how there's nothing in this agreement. Nothing has been sowed in this agreement except the seeds of America's deceit. I mean, just talking trash, talking a big game for a country that should be in the position of just doing what they're told, and we're not enforcing that. At least it doesn't appear to be that we're enforcing that, and that worries me in a big way.
And understand that our enemies use our own system against us, and they can use the left to try to accomplish it. Just go back and read some of the KGB files that were uncovered. I mean, there is an absolute strategy to this through China, Russia today, and also Iran. Because we're sitting there and President Trump starts to see the midterm. Somebody says, hey, oil prices are this. We've got to win. Otherwise, we don't get any of our action items done in the future. There's a political calculation. He comes up with the MOU, which was awful. But the fact is, from what you gather, the teeth of it are going to be the actions and not allowing him to do things that President Trump said, no, you're not going to do this. You're not going to close those Strait of Hormuz. You're not going to develop a nuclear program. So we're sitting there in this mode, and the people that are saying that Iran is stronger, okay, their rhetoric, yeah, I get it, and they're playing that game, but they're not stronger than they were. I mean, and to me, that's where okay, I'm having a discussion about policy, and I can get it, and I can disagree or agree with people, but when you tell me Iran's stronger, I think you're just a...
You know what will make them stronger, though?
Like a jackass.
You know what will make them stronger, though? When they start making money again off their oil and the sanctions are gone and the strait is open, and that's already starting to happen. Just listen to this. This is just, the briefest way that I can sum up these few stories. There's a New York Times report today that says Iran and Oman are making moves to make ships pay for passage through the Strait of Hormuz, the toll situation, right? Followed by another headline that says Secretary of State Rubio says charging tolls in the Strait of Hormuz is a violation of international law. So obviously there's some contention here, right? There's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem here. Meanwhile, in the very next story, the very next headline that you see, Iran's oil exports surge after blockade ends, exporting 50 million barrels in rapid comeback. Iran has exported about 50 million barrels of crude oil since the U.S. lifted its blockade on June 17th under an interim deal to end hostilities, according to the maritime intelligence firm Tanker Trackers. The figures underscore Iran's rapid return to global oil markets. That's one way to give them more power than they've had or deserve.
Certainly, they're going to have more power from that point where they have relatively no power after what we did. No, I
But how about they start? How about we don't let them start making money until we have some of these agreements done?
That's why I opposed the MOU. That's why
I know. No, I know. I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying I'm arguing with the
right.
I'm arguing with the process.
Right, and to call it something else other than a toll, don't play word games with me, okay?
Yeah, that's a good
when
point.
money is money and money is money, and so See, intellectual honesty on both sides really is important here, because we're talking about a policy that could end up putting more men and women in harm's way, and how we go about that in order to make America more secure and the world more secure, but specifically America more secure. And the debate needs to be honest. And I'll tell you, truth was the first casualty when it came to the Iraq War, because people were lying about the reasoning we went there. They said, "Oh, it's only WMD," when we had a Liberation Act of 1999. I mean, I just want people to be intellectually consistent.
Well, honest debate is what you'll get every day here on Colombo and Company. And when it comes to Crane Durham, you're going to get nothing but truth. And nothingbutTruth.com every day for Crane Durham. Buddy, appreciate your time as always, my friend.
Thank you. Please follow the page at Facebook. Johnny, thank you. I love y'all.
Yeah,
Thank
Nothing
you
But
so
Truth
much.
Facebook page. Check it out each and every day. And, of course, Crane is with us every Tuesday, at least every Tuesday here on Colombo and Company. Crane, you're the best. Thank you very much, buddy. All right, we are going to continue the conversation in the 3 o'clock hour. We are going to be joined by our big tech AI expert, Mike McCleary from Intervine. He'll be with us in about 25 minutes from now. But first, we are going to talk to our legal expert to help unpack these Supreme Court rulings from Red State. The co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, Susie Moore, joins us next.
Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Di Gregorio's Italian Market, AAA Motor Speedway, and American Family Insurance. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby, only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Remember when food tasted like home? When breakfast was made from scratch and dessert was worth saving room for? At Shorty's Diner, we're serving up down-home breakfasts, lunches, and desserts just like Mom used to make. Fresh, from scratch, every single day. Step back in time with us, where the booths are cozy, Elvis is always in the building, and every plate feels like a hug. On Lackland and Westport, or online at shortysdiners.com. Shorty's Diner. It's not fancy. It's not fat-free. It's just the way it used to be.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The U.S. Supreme Court has weighed in on the issue of birthright citizenship.
The Supreme Court votes 5-4 to uphold birthright citizenship, so babies born on American soil are automatically American citizens regardless of the immigration status of their parents. Now, this ruling, one of the most highly anticipated of the year, President Trump on the first day of his second term signed an executive order to end birthright citizenship, and he was at the Supreme Court for oral arguments, a historic first for a sitting president. Laura Winters reporting.
Also today, the High Court upheld state laws that bar transgender girls and women from playing on school athletic teams. Justice upholding such bans at Idaho males from participating on the girls' sports teams at both the public school level and universities. 3 firefighters killed over the weekend in a wildfire burning along the Colorado-Utah border were trying to shield themselves from flames by deploying tent-like shelters at the time when they were overcome. That's according to officials. Players going to be literally feeling the summer heat in World Cup matches this week. Here's correspondent Ben Thomas.
Teams playing in open-air venues will be playing under a dome, a heat dome.
Forecast high temperatures are going to be anywhere between the 90s to low 100s.
Brian Putnam at the National Weather Service.
That's going to be the air temperature that you'll see.
And he warns with the high humidity,
heat indices are going to be higher than that. And that's the temperature that it's going to feel like. That's the stress that you're going to be feeling on your body and that heat. And those heat indices are probably going to range between 100 to 110 degrees and maybe as high as up to 115 degrees.
Players have medical staff, 3-minute cooling breaks midway through each half, and other safeguards. I'm Ben Thomas.
More of these stories at townhall.com.
How many times are you going to walk into that outdated bathroom and think, I really need a bathroom makeover? Stop putting it off and transform your bathroom and your life in as little as one day with a beautiful, affordable shower makeover from Jacuzzi Bath Remodel. Choose from custom designs tailored to your budget and style, including safety-focused features for beauty and peace of mind.
I've had a great experience from start to finish. The crew that came in, they were so professional. This looks like a marble, beautiful, new shower, and it was done all in one day.
Right now, we're waiving all installation costs, plus offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Call now to schedule your free design consultation and quote. Call 800-384-3371. That's 800-384-3371. 800-384-3371. With purchase and installation, financing through third-party lenders, subject to credit approval. No interest and no payments if paid in full within 12 months. Charge from purchase date if not paid in full. Not all will qualify. Call dealer for details.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Unfortunately, no good news in the forecast. We're still in for lots of heat, a lot of sunshine too today. A high temperature of about 97 and that heat index up to 105 or 106 this afternoon. No rain in the forecast. Lows tonight near the 80-degree mark and a high tomorrow up to about 98. Sunny skies. Then, beginning on Thursday and each day through the weekend, we have low afternoon rain chances for some bubble-up type thunderstorms here and there, which will help with the heat, but not the humidity. In the First Alert Weather Center, I'm KMOV meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Great conversation with Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com in that 2 o'clock hour. Subscribe to our podcast if you want to make sure you never miss anything that happens here on the show, because we put the show out as a podcast right after we get off the air every day on basically every podcast platform. All right, continuing the conversation in this 3 o'clock hour, we're going to have our AI big tech expert, Mike McCleary from Intervine, with us in about 20 minutes. But first, the perfect day to talk to our legal expert from RedState.com, Red State Radio, the co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, number 8 in your programs, but number 1 in your hearts. Susie Moore is with us. Susie, anything going on today? Uh-oh. Do we have... Sorry, Susie.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm here.
All right.
I'm here.
Fantastic. I thought maybe for a second there was so much going on that we didn't...
No. I was joking. Not a thing going on today. I don't even know what you mean.
Yeah, right. So we got into some of it there in the 2 o'clock hour with Crane, but obviously I want to continue to unpack these rulings, specifically the birthright citizenship. But there's other things to talk about, important things to talk about today. So first of all, let me just ask you: Were you surprised by anything today? Was there anything that really caught you off guard about these rulings? Not even if you were expecting one way or the other, but anything anything that really surprised you from these rulings today, or even the rulings yesterday?
Yeah, what surprised me today was I kind of expected the outcome in the transgender athletics cases. I wasn't terribly shocked by the campaign financing one, although I wasn't particularly invested in that one, so I hadn't paid super close attention to it. But the birthright citizenship, the thing that surprised me wasn't the ultimate outcome. It was the fact that this court, of all courts, John Roberts' court, instead of doing what I thought they were going to do, which was going to take the narrow middle ground, which is kind of what Kavanaugh did with his concurrence, they went ahead and went full on at the constitutional issue and said, yep, nope, 14th Amendment, nope, we're good. And obviously the alignment there, of course, is causing some people to be like, what is going on? Since you had, of course, Roberts and Coney Barrett lining up with 3 liberal justices, and then Kavanaugh kind of coming down in the middle there than with the other 3 dissenters.
Yeah, I want to dig into the Kavanaugh part of this, because I've read several reports about that and how he may have kind of laid out a path forward for addressing this issue without maybe having to go with a constitutional amendment. But I want to get into that in just a second. I want to ask you, because once we start birthright citizenship, it's we're going to be gone. That's going to be it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about yesterday's ruling about mail-in ballots, because that one did. I'm not saying I'm happy with all the rulings, but I am not surprised by anything that happened today. I was surprised when this mail-in ballot decision came down, and it was Amy Coney Barrett who was the one who joined the liberal justices and made the ruling that now allows for mail-in ballots to be counted even if they are collected after Election Day. What do you think of that ruling? Were you surprised, and just your general thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that one I was surprised with it, because it sort of seemed like they were maybe, I think a lot of us were anticipating they were going to say, no, Election Day is Election Day, and, that has a meaning, and that there's a sort of definitive cutoff. Now, in that instance, they did, you'll notice it was the same split as with the birthright citizenship case. And they did do that little narrow ground thing where they said, well, the way that the statute is written now, it doesn't prevent states from, having this additional provision about when they'll accept. The problem is it didn't really include much of a limiting principle. So then you have the outlier states like Washington and like California, where, it's like, oh, we're good counting ballots till kingdom come. So whatever. At least with Mississippi, they've got a 5-day rule, and it has to be postmarked, and it's pretty clear in the statute. So, at least there is that sort of limiting there, but it leaves the door open. That doesn't mean those provisions from other states can't still be challenged.
Yeah.
So it kind of didn't solve the problem, and that surprised me a little bit.
And that's always great when the ruling doesn't solve the problem, because we just did all that, and we're still right where we've always been. So... that one was
on our wheels.
That one is the most interesting of the bunch from me, at least as far as being surprised at the ruling and who was part of it. I will say that. So on to birthright citizenship now. I was a little surprised that it was 5-4, and for whatever reason in my mind, they weren't taking this case as seriously as some of the people out there, the legal experts that you hear, digging into every aspect and how it could be, you could interpret it this way or you could interpret it that way. So I was actually expecting it not to go the president's way. But I didn't think it would be as close as it was. And that's probably just because I am not paying as close of attention as I should. And then we got this Brett Kavanaugh, as you touched on, and I've mentioned that a couple times. We got this Brett Kavanaugh opinion, which is like with the majority, but not completely with the majority. And then we've got, after all of this, we've got some Republican senators and congressmen saying that they're going to start working on a new constitutional amendment immediately. We've got others, including the president, saying we don't need a constitutional amendment. There's another way to go about this. So there's a whole lot to unpack here. Can you kind of explain the difference between, like, what did Brett Kavanaugh say today that was different than the other justices in the majority rule that is, making this news today?
What he said was he actually thinks the Constitution permits Congress to limit birthright citizenship. It's just that it hasn't done so with the currently enacted statute, the one that grants citizenship. So he's saying, I think that the executive order as it was written violates the statute, but that doesn't mean that Congress can't amend that statute and be more definitive about it. Mm-hmm. And, that seems to be at odds with what the majority ended up holding here. But I guess there's a little bit of wiggle room there if Congress were to actually get off its duff and do something productive and craft a, properly worded definition of all, what does and doesn't qualify. And that were to be challenged, I do think that this court, in its current makeup, would be a little bit more hard-pressed to say, okay, well, that doesn't, pass muster under the 14th Amendment. So, he agreed ultimately with the court's outcome as now, the way it is, but he sees some wiggle room there. And we saw Senator Schmidt say he's proposing legislation to kind of thread that needle. And I agree, legislation would be an easier lift than a constitutional amendment at this point. I think we may be stuck at 27 as opposed to Missouri where you can't get enough constitutional amendments apparently.
You got that right.
Yeah. But right now, the way this Congress is divided, I don't know how far this effort will go either, but it's something. I think if you saw the president's reaction to this decision, I don't think he was terribly surprised by it either. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of like, well, there's other options. We'll look into those. That's disappointing, but look at this win over here.
Right? Yeah.
to point to the decision that went in his favor. So, it's not the end of the inquiry. I am frankly surprised that Roberts took for as restrained and like minimal footprint as he has tried to be for so long, for 20 years on this court, for him to be like, oh no, it violates the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
Is really out of character. So I don't know if he's starting to see the end of the road for his own tenure there and thinking this is going to be his legacy. Or what exactly? Mm-hmm. But I do think that the concurrence that Kavanaugh wrote is going to end up playing a significant role down the road.
So I couldn't agree with you more about, and where I'm going to get into some of the statements and some of the, apparent paths forward or plans that some of those in Congress have moving forward. But if Congress can't move on the SAVE Act, which is a slam dunk, 80-20, as much as that's overused, 80-20 issue, 90-10 issue, whatever it may be. If they can't even vote on the SAVE Act, I'm supposed to have faith that they're going to pass a constitutional amendment? Like, give me a break.
That's not happening.
We've got to.
I agree. The constitutional amendment isn't happening.
Yeah, this Congress doing anything. Right, this Congress doing anything would be would be shocking. So it'll be interesting how that plays out. And I agree. Like I said, I was expecting it. I wasn't expecting the president to win this. Just the signals and some of the things that I was reading coming out of it, it felt like they were leaning towards the ruling that they were going to make today, and now it's going to be up to the next steps. Is it fair to say, Susie, that the crux of this issue is just interpreting the Constitution and whether it is appropriate to try to determine the meaning or that the founding fathers put in there? Because obviously the birthright citizenship issue of today was not something that they were considering when they wrote the 14th Amendment, when they were, when this was being put forward. So is the crux of the situation like, look, we can only rule on what it says. And if you want it to say something different, then you need to, if you want the law or the Constitution to say something different, then you need to make it say something different. And it's tough to make a ruling on intent of the law when it's not actually in there. Is that the center of all of this, or is it a little bit more complicated than that?
Well, sort of. First of all, you have to remember the 14th Amendment wasn't part of the original Constitution.
Yeah, that's true.
It came
That's
along
true. That's
after
very
the
true.
Civil War, and
Yeah.
it was specifically aimed, obviously, at a different scenario. It had to do with
that's a great point.
Acknowledging the citizenship of freed slaves.
Yes, yeah.
And definitely didn't contemplate the immigration situation that we are dealing with today. Definitely didn't contemplate birth tourism, which is one of the biggest issues.
Mm-hmm.
And
What a word.
Yeah.
What a 2026 word. Birth tourism. I'm
right.
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it's been going on
Yeah.
for a while,
Yeah,
but
you're
it's
right.
escalated, I think, in some respects.
Mhm.
And it definitely was not cut out to address that issue, which is why I think there is a lane here for Congress to act, not by implementing or passing an amendment or trying to pass an amendment, because then that's a really, really heavy lift in our current dynamic. But even passing a statute that better defines what qualifies, others for citizenship that would potentially pass muster under the 14th Amendment is what I think they're aiming for, and what Kavanaugh kind of lays out in his decision. So I do think there's a lane there. I think that trying to make today's issue fit neatly into the 14th Amendment's original framing because of the context is very hard. And I think I can't fault them for saying, no, this doesn't really fit. And if you read it this way, it's, it should apply here. I can't truly fault them for that, but I also can't fault people for wanting that to be, there would be a different outcome, or there would be a different way that we address that issue, because it's being basically abused now.
Yeah, and it's always a slippery slope, right? To start trying to find the intent of the law rather than the letter of the law when you're making a ruling. I mean, right? That's always going to be a very tricky and potentially dangerous path forward. You mentioned Eric Schmidt, our own senator here in Missouri. He's one of the people that have been very outspoken with reaction to this today. I just want to read a couple of these as, there's the decision now being made if there's going to be a path forward to try to do something about this ruling or not. As I mentioned, constitutional amendment is one way, but I agree with you. Don't hold your breath. Are you freaking kidding me? With this Congress. Mike Lee was one of the senators that was speaking out against this, and he actually did post that we're going to need a constitutional amendment. Rand Paul also said the same thing and patted himself on the back, saying that he's already introduced language for such an amendment earlier this year. And then Schmidt offered a lengthy statement today calling the court's ruling, quote, dangerous and disastrous, saying, quote, the Supreme Court's birthright citizenship decision is wrong, dangerous, and disastrous for American sovereignty and the American people. If we can't fix it with ordinary legislation, then we must do what the Constitution commands in moments of national crisis. We must amend the Constitution and restore American citizenship. We must, again, put we the people first. House Speaker Mike Johnson also mentioned the possibility of a constitutional amendment. Speaking to reporters on Capitol Hill, he criticized the decision and said Congress must act, quote, as quickly and efficiently as we can. We're looking at that. He said, when asked about plans for legislation, quote, we need to address the issue as quickly and efficiently as we can. Some are suggesting that may take a constitutional amendment. As you know, that's a large undertaking. Clearly, birthright citizenship has been abused. Yeah. At least Mike Johnson's got a little bit of reality in his statement, saying that's an awfully large thing to try to pull off. But yeah, this idea of making another amendment is going to be pushed for. And then you've got the president who's saying we just need legislation, and that's kind of what Kavanaugh laid out in his ruling. So do you think that either one of those paths, I mean, obviously we've talked about the amendment thing. Do you think that there is a legitimate path forward, and is there enough motivation in Congress to actually follow through on this, or is this all campaign bluster? Do you feel like this has got legs or not?
Well, I think it has legs. I think the constitutional amendment approach is kind of pie in the sky and is going to be used for campaign purposes. I think that statutorily it's doable. Unfortunately, you have a select few quote-unquote Republicans who, at this point aren't inclined to go along to get along. Some of them may have, maybe on their way out and maybe a little bit bitter about that. And so they're not necessarily willing to play ball. And, there's limits as to what, even with the majority, with it being as slim as it is, what the party in power can do. I'm sorry. When the party in power is Republicans, when it's Democrats, they just go full speed ahead and no one cares. Republicans being Republicans, there are limits. So
right.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be a big campaign issue all the way around. I think this is we're going to be hearing this nonstop between now and November, and particularly from the Republicans. And it's probably a good campaign issue for them, so they're going to make the most of it.
And before we let you go, Susie, what's left, if anything, as far as rulings from
that's
this court?
it.
Are we done?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Today's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they left on a big one. they
always do.
They left on a bang.
They always do.
For sure. And you're right. These issues will reverberate for weeks and months to come through the campaign season. It's going to be really interesting, and we'll talk about the details and the steps forward if Congress really is going to try to go about legislation, to address this. But waiting on Congress to literally do anything is not something that I have a whole lot of confidence in. But we'll be talking about it, as will everybody else, as we get closer and closer to those midterm elections. Susie Moore from redstate.com. Check out Susie's articles every day at redstate.com. And, of course, tune in every morning to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL with Susie and Mike. And appreciate your time, as always, on a Tuesday afternoon, Susie. Talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Tony. Have a great day.
Thank you. Great stuff, as always, from Susie Moore. All right, Tuesday afternoon means it's also time to talk about big tech AI issues with our big tech AI expert. Mike McCleary from Intervine joins us next on Colombo and Company.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Fox News commentary with Craig Gutfeld. Next.
You're probably listening to this in your car, so let me ask you. Would you drive without insurance? Of course not. So why is your retirement portfolio unprotected? Gold is portfolio insurance. It helps de-risk your savings when markets get unpredictable. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of Americans do exactly that, with no high-pressure sales and thousands of 5-star reviews. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making any investment decisions.
Libs accuse us of obsessing over a number of things. The culture war issues. Who initiated that stuff? It wasn't us. How about race? They say, oh, why do you care about, we don't care about a race. We never, you guys brought that up. DEI is dead, but you guys started it. They say we obsess over bathrooms and high school sports. We didn't want to. Right. You guys created the bathroom issue and put dudes in girls' sports. And then you accuse us of obsessing.
Of noticing.
Yeah, suddenly we're noticing. They say we obsess over guns. No, we're not. We just know that you want to take them from us. And you say that. You say we obsess over cancel culture and wokeism. We didn't invent it, but we'll fight it.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, Michael's Funeral Home, and Freddie's Market.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community, Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Most people don't need more sleep, they need better sleep. You spend 8 hours in bed and still wake up tired, sore, stiff, and wishing you could go back to sleep. That's why we opened Snooze Mattress Company. Before you buy a mattress, we'll dream map your body using advanced technology that measures your pressure points and support needs, and that helps match you to the right sleep system. And during our birthday celebration month, save up to $1,250 on select premium mattresses and adjustable sleep systems. Stop guessing, start sleeping better. Visit Snooze Mattress Company, because when you sleep better, everything gets better.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story, covering 2 of Pope John's trips to the USA.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence.
That it does. It's always important to remember that fantastic piece of knowledge dropped on us by Kamala Harris as we start another AI conversation. Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Joining us on the line now is our big tech AI expert from Intervine and Intervine.com. Mike McCleary is here. Mike, there's a lot going on in the world with Supreme Court decisions and the situation in Iran. But you know what doesn't care about any of that stuff? The AI companies and the AI evolution. And if we don't keep an eye on these things and stay up to speed on all of them, we can get left behind real quick. So as always, really appreciate your time, my friend. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Happy to be here. And you're right. It's crazy how much is going on in the world right now. And I don't know how people do it. I really don't. Like, how do you focus? Like, imagine you're Hegseth and your entire focus is just like on this crazy war where you just don't know who you're talking to and who's doing what at what point in time for what reason. Yet you're also hearing that AI is going to take over the world, you know, and control us here in a few years. Like, how do you focus on which one?
Yeah.
You're worried about Iran or worried about AI taking over?
Yeah. You gotta do it all. And you know, it's important to stay on top of all of it. But yeah, there's more happening. It feels like, you know, around the world, and then you got, you know, the big local elections coming up. These massively important primaries that are right around the corner, just almost exactly a month away now in August. And it's important to be up to speed and engaged and educated in all of these issues, especially when you're headed towards the ballot box, as so many are later on this year. So let's dive right in here. I know that you had a story. There's always, so jobs are always going to be at the forefront of the AI conversation because, you know, how many, AI is going to take away all of our jobs. That is the, that is one of the biggest fears, one of the biggest statements that's, made whenever there's somebody that is opposed to AI and to its development. But while, yes, of course, some jobs will be lost to AI, maybe many jobs will be lost to AI, it's not black and white, and it's not that simple. And there's been a lot of discussions about that in the news, and we've had a lot of those here recently, and that conversation rages on even today. So give us the latest there.
Yeah, let me tell you, just how confusing it got. Through the latest report of May of this year, we have seen that at least 90,000 jobs have been cut by companies saying it's AI related. And, sometimes they're using it as a scapegoat, but clearly jobs have been cut due to AI. That is a fact.
But that's a really good point. And we saw that. We've talked about this before, and I think it's really important for people to remember this, that because AI is such an easy scapegoat, an easy excuse, we have seen reports that it's not like we're guessing that this is happening. There's been some very credible reports and studies done into this that, as companies are making budget cuts, or maybe they need to, maybe they're not doing as well as they would like to be, but instead of, admitting that we have to cut costs or cut jobs because of a performance issue, to just blame it on AI and then make that the official report. Well, that is for real happening. I'm not trying to take away any of the legitimacy, because there's a lot of legitimacy to the fact that, yes, AI will legitimately replace a lot of jobs. But it is important to remember that is happening, that it's also being used as a scapegoat, that when maybe some of these companies just are, want to make some cutbacks, like if we can just blame AI, even though that's not really why we're doing this, it makes us look a little bit better. So just keep that in mind when you're reading these reports. I'm sorry, but I think that's so important.
No, you're right. I hear about that all the time. Imagine you're a CEO. It's so much easier to say, gosh, we got to cut your job because of AI, versus I really hired too many people and I'm not making enough profit.
Yes.
And that's what's happening here. And so here's the weird thing that we're seeing now is that not only have we seen jobs cut by AI, but we're seeing companies that are embracing AI, like tech companies that are really going deep in it. They're hiring. They've hired like 10% more than what they had at the beginning of the year. So it's these companies that, if you're a company that's actually digging into AI and you want to use it, you're hiring more people right now. So you have this like other legacy companies that are cutting people for AI and other reasons. You have tech companies that are hiring people. You also have we talked about a lot of like the beginning entry level jobs are the jobs that people thought were going to be really in play here. We have tech companies hiring entry level jobs, people right out of college, beginning engineers, beginning analysts, like all those jobs that we thought were going away. As long as you're a tech company, they're hiring those people. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to completely offset, like the manufacturing industry, but it's definitely happening. But speaking of manufacturing, I was interested, like when I saw this report out, I was doing some research on it, and I was really interesting to see that Ford has done this for the past several years. They went heavy on AI and automation at the beginning of the 2020s, even before we heard of ChatGPT. They were trying to automate a lot of their processes, cut down on a lot of people. Then around 2023, they started getting really bad quality problems. So what they've been doing since then is hiring back those people. They call them the graybeards. They're really great engineers that they had and got rid of. They're bringing them back because they realized their quality sucked because it relied on automation before it was ready. Now they're bringing those people out. I think like over 300 high-level engineers they brought back because AI did not do what they were hoping it would do for them.
I was actually watching a video about AI development in some of these companies. There was an automaker. There was a cell phone maker that was in a different part of the world. It wasn't Apple or Google. But it was the point of this discussion was that many times, and it kind of I think goes right along with what you're saying, is that sometimes these tech companies will get so involved and so enamored with AI that they they think that AI can catch every issue, every potential problem with whatever their product is, and they only rely on AI to build and test these products, and then they get out in the real world. Like there was one about this car, like that didn't have a glove box. It just had like a tray that came out, and it's like once and some other, like there was like the car had like Bluetooth connectivity issues, or like a cell phone that just didn't have some like basic, like, well, where is it? Why is the keyboard like this? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like that because they relied on AI and trusted AI to catch everything without having some human interaction and some human oversight and some human testing, and how that's backfired. And to add on to what you were just saying there, to your point, that these companies are now bringing people back into the fold because, as we've said from the very beginning, AI is a tool. It's a great tool to be used by people. That's the ultimate, optimistic goal for this, is that it becomes a tool for humans to use, not something that replaces humans altogether.
And I think that is where it's going. And also, you and I've talked about this. Gosh, I think we've talked about this now for a year. The most valuable people in the world right now for businesses are people who understand the business and who are starting to understand AI. You don't have to be an expert, because AI doesn't have the experience. It doesn't have the real world experience that, I might need a glove box. It doesn't have all those details. And those are the people that companies are hiring right now, and they're paying well to keep around as well. So if you have a job right now and you don't know AI and you want to keep your job, just start learning how to have AI do your job better, and you will be an incredibly valuable asset. I'm seeing this all across industry, and I can't keep telling people enough. Embrace it. Use it as a tool, just like you're talking about, Tony.
Yeah.
And you'll become invaluable to that company.
Yeah, and a perfect example of that is that you could give a product, the same product, to me and to Mike, and you would say, make an advertisement, make a commercial, make a video promoting this product. I could do it, but it's not going to be as good as Mike's, because Mike understands how to use these tools and has experience with them, and that's a big deal. There's even job titles for it. I can't remember like what they are, but there's like
prompt
AI
engineer is one.
Yeah,
of them.
prompt engineers.
Prompt
Perfect example. Prompt engineers that know how to use these AI programs to get the most out of them. And again, that's a human skill that to get that kind of productivity and efficiency out of these things. So the job conversation is an important one, and in no way am I, and I don't want to speak for Mike, but I know we're not belittling that in any way. But there is another side of the coin that does not get talked about enough. And listen, you know me, I'm not the most optimistic guy in the world. So if I'm saying that there's at least another side to the story, there definitely is. There's more I want to talk about as we continue our conversation with Mike McCleary from Intervine, including you're going to have to explain this in a minute. Claude Science and AI Workbench for Scientists is now available. That's one of the things I definitely want to get your thoughts on as we continue. Also, don't forget about Mike's company, Intervine, intervine.com. Mike and his family-owned business, local business that makes the best flashlights, lanterns, and headlamps available. If you're looking for heavy-duty lanterns, tech flashlight, if you're, a hardcore outdoorsman, or you just want that super bright, reliable flashlight, lantern, headlamp that can fit in a drawer of your home or the glove box of your vehicle if you have a glove box. I guess you could set it on the tray if you have one of those other cars. Also, batteries in all different sizes you can get right now at intervine.com, and you can get it all for 25% off just by using my name, Tony, Tony, as your promo code at checkout. Use Tony at checkout at intervine.com for 25% off all those great products. Intervine is INTERVINE. Use my name, Tony, at checkout for 25% off everything at Intervine.com. We continue the conversation with Mike McClary next.
Look in his eye. It's fed on nothing but full of.
You feel it every time you check out. Prices up, paychecks stretched, families squeezed. That's why Ann Wagner's fighting to get government off your back and out of your way. Wagner passed the largest tax cut in American history, expanded child tax credits, ended taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And Wagner is working to lower costs so families keep more of their hard-earned money. But Ann Wagner knows delivering from Missouri means more than just protecting their wallets. It means protecting our streets as well. That's why Wagner fought to secure our border, deport dangerous illegal aliens, partner with law enforcement, and put predators behind bars and off our streets so our neighborhoods and communities stay safe. Because real effective leadership protects what matters most: your money, your family, your safety. Ann Wagner for Congress.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Just talking about Mike and his company, Intervine there. Speaking of great local businesses, family-owned businesses that have just been taking care of the St. Louis community for decades, Grasser Home Services. You guys have heard me tell the story. We discovered Grasser a few years ago when we moved into our new home. We needed some electrical work done, and it's just like a weight off your chest when you find somebody that you can trust with all the electrical needs at your home or business. And at Grasser Home Services, it's so much more than that. And these guys, you know, the techs at Grasser are the best. The kind of customer service and professionals that you can trust with, you know, something as important as the needs of your home or business. Grasser Home Services, of course, specializes in all your electrical needs, ranging from large-scale commercial projects all the way down to simple home service needs like replacing a bad light switch, as well as all of your plumbing needs, from fixture and pipe repairs and replacements, including garbage disposals, sump pumps, and water softeners. They do it all at Grasser. Again, local family-owned business that is part of the community, exactly the type of company that I trust, and I think that you can as well. Grasser offers also free quotes for new projects, so if you have an electrical problem or just need quote for new work, contact Grasser now. Learn more and contact them through the website, callgrasser.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
The midterms are coming up.
This is a tough political environment.
We have Democrats that are more interested in protecting illegals and criminals.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Before we hand things off to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show at 4 o'clock, we are continuing our conversation with our big tech AI expert, Mike McClary from Intervine and Intervine.com. And, you know, every week it feels like there's like the billion-dollar agreements happening between various companies and people getting in or out of the AI industry, and it just feels like play money at this point when you're just talking about billions of dollars here, billions of dollars there, and there's stories regarding that. And then also I wanted to get your thoughts on, and maybe kind of an explanation on this headline: Claude Science, an AI workbench for scientists, is now available. AI's doing, AI is your lawyer, your doctor, and now your scientist. Mike, what is this all about?
Oh no! Did we
really
lose it?
heading.
Oh, there we go. Hey, Mike.
Oh, there we go.
Yep, that was my fault. Start that answer over. I apologize. Go ahead.
Well, you're so good looking, Tony. That's how I started it out. I'm sorry you missed that. But so this is where AI is really going for the business world. They're creating what they call like these workbenches. So they already it's going to have all the AI tools you need for your job. So for example, Claude has something called Claude Design, which is a whole set of tools for designers who work in the marketing world and design websites, clothes, products, things like that. It ties together all these different products in order to help that specific job. They both OpenAI and Anthropic also have a special program for lawyers that ties into all these various different legal databases and research, and these text documents have been scanned in for it. And there's all different types. And there's Claude Code. You've heard of that probably too as well. That's for programmers. Well, now they have Claude Science, which is for scientists. And it's a workbench. It's a program you can download on your Mac or your PC. And it allows you to do programming, research, and AI analysis, modeling, graphics, images, all in one place. And it connects to all these different data sources, and you can tell it which data sources you trust. So for example, if you really want to feel dumb, by the way, Tony, go to their website.
Oh, I don't need any help with that.
I can't even. I was going to try to sound cool talking about some of these things, like this single cell RNA sequencing, example they did here.
You can get away with it. I couldn't. Analysis. Everybody roll their eyes if I started talking like that and be like, "No."
You haven't heard about the rhodopsidine 46 vertebrates that they just mapped out?
No, I didn't. I mean, but I'm not gonna.
It's probably not right.
Yeah, I don't want to get above everybody's head though.
But they have all these examples where companies are really using this to do awesome research. It is speeding things up. They're not taking the scientists out of the equation, but it's speeding up what the scientists do. They're able to do read through 1,000-page research document to find that one part that they're like, I thought someone already did this before. Let's go see. It can quickly scan through it. It can cross-reference all these documents, find out things that either they're in line with each other, maybe they contradict each other, and then also the Claude Science can double check their work with other instances of Claude Science. This is where AI is spinning up its own little research agents to verify everything that it does, which dramatically limits the hallucinations that AI is prone to. And that's how you can get so much more confidence from tools like this. It double checks and triple checks itself because this is science. You don't want that to be wrong.
Can you explain that word again and what it means when it comes to the context of AI? Because that is a word that we hear all the time about AI hallucinating. Yeah. And I think that can scare people. And I know that we've talked about, and rightfully so, I know we've talked about this before, but, there's people learning and getting into this every day. And so when you say, or when you hear, if you're watching television, hearing somebody talk about AI and they talk about AI hallucinating, remind us of what that means.
Yeah, so AI doesn't work like a typical computer program. Anyone who's ever used a calculator knows that it's a set of steps, right? 1 plus something divided by something times something. It's bits and bytes that all come out to be the exact same answer every time. AI works in a way that, to be honest, scientists don't fully understand it. They put trillions of data points, they just download pretty much every document in the world that ever existed. They put it into this great big memory of a computer, and they keep answering it random questions, and they look at the answer and say, did they get it right or did they get it wrong? And if they get it wrong, they tweak a few parameters and they run it through again and see if it got closer to being right or further away. And then they tweak a few parameters. And by that's literally how AI is built. Mm-hmm. They just keep giving it, and computers are doing this now in the background. They keep giving it all these questions, and every time it gets an answer right, they adjust some settings in it. And over time, once they realize, wow, if we set these 100 different little numbers over here to be something that I could never figure out, it gets answers more and more right just by it's pure brute force. It goes through billions of computations, and at the end, it has a high probability of knowing what answer it should be. I explain it that way because it's not, like we said, not like a calculator. It's going through and doing billions of calculations over trillions of data points. Sorry, I hit my microphone. I got so excited.
All right. No, I like it. Getting fired up, man.
And everything is a probability. And it guesses what the next word is. It's like, okay, so I think that if you say the boy jumped into it could be pool, could be pond, could be lake. And it has a list of probabilities of what it thinks is most likely to be the next answer. And it just picks the highest probability because it just went through these billions of different tests, and it knows that, pool is a slightly higher probability than pond.
Mm-hmm.
And because of
Is
that,
it weird
it's
that
not
my
always
word
right.
was pit? Sorry.
Pit.
If I was
Yeah,
AI, I'd be hallucinating a lot. So it's when AI is basically guessing or trying.
And it's guessing all the time.
Yeah,
it's guessing every single time.
Yeah.
But it's all probabilities.
Right. So when it's making those guesses incorrectly, is that what would be described as a hallucination? Or
That's exactly what it is. And it's getting better because the more you train it, the less hallucinations, the better it's able to, come up with these probabilities. And the more memory it has, we talk about like AI just kind of like, you have a real long conversation, it kind of gets all muddled up. The more memory it's able to handle, it's able to look back at your conversation and look at things you're talking about before in order to better understand what you're asking about right now. That's when it gets smarter, taking the whole context of the conversation, which is hard to do, but that makes it get smarter and smarter and smarter. But it's every single answer, every word that comes out of AI, every single word is a guess with a really high probability of what that word should be.
Talking to Mike McCleary from Intervine. Only got a few minutes left here, Mike, but I'm sure this will be one that we dig into deeper in the coming weeks. But I wanted to mention this. The U.S. government is now treating AI as a national security interest and is trying to oversee more control of what gets released from these AI companies. That AI makes me nervous, and so does government overreach. So I got some concerns here. What is the Cliff? We got just only a few minutes left here. What's the Cliff Notes explanation of what's happening?
Well, so this only came up recently because, to be honest, the AI models were really good, but they weren't like anything that could crack some computer systems and break into foreign governments' code or even our code, things like that. But there's a
But it
turning
is
point in
now.
December. It is now, right?
It is
And
now.
this all started happening around December. They started getting super smart, and we got to this past month where Anthropic released what's called Mythos. That is the version of their latest AI that was able to pretty much hack into almost any computer system they put it up. Even these like huge companies like Google and Apple, it found all these backdoors into them. And so they couldn't release it out to the world. So they worked with these companies and said, hey, use our code to fix your code so that you don't have all these security issues with it. That's how good it was. And we had not had a model that smart. And so they thought they worked through all those issues. They released it. Ends up, they didn't work through all those issues, and people were found to be able to use to hack into it. So the government said, hold on, take Mythos or Fables, the name they come up the next time, but pull it back because we don't want this out in the world again until you fix this. And so we're to the point where these models are so good, the government's saying, you need to go through us if it's that powerful so that we can make sure that people don't hack into our systems, to other businesses, and put our country at risk. And OpenAI released their next version just last week of version 5.6. Same thing happened. But OpenAI went to the government first because they knew it was going to happen and said, why don't you guys take a look at this? It's even smarter than that Mythos that you banned, and we want you to take a look at this and help us figure out how to safely release it.
Man, that's interesting, going to the government. And now I do understand from the point of like national security concerns, but I have a lot of my own concerns if we are going to allow the government, any government, the oversight on what is in making those decisions on what products are or not appropriate or too powerful or whatever it may be.
They're already doing it.
Yeah, I know. And we got to
Where's my water car?
That's too much. Yeah, right.
They disappeared that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Pure clean energy.
So, another concern and an important thing to realize, and again, one of the things that we will obviously continue to talk about in the coming days. Mike, before we wrap this up, did you know that today was Social Media Day? Do we really need a social media day?
Gosh.
Is that something we really need to celebrate?
Every day people scroll. If you added up how much people scroll on their phones, every single day it adds up to the height of the Statue of Liberty. Not joking. It's a real stat.
The amount of scrolling, like if you
amount of scrolling one person does on your phone, if you add up how far you're scrolling, let's say you scroll like 3 inches every time you're swiping down or swiping up. If you add it up over one day, it's the height of the Statue of Liberty. That's how much we are addicted to social media.
Well, according to it, that doesn't surprise me. And according to unfortunately, a couple of these stats today, and the average person spends 141 minutes a day on social media. Last year, 2025, over 5.4 billion people used social media. There's like 8 billion people, I think, on Earth now. So, a big majority there. 84% of Americans say that they've used YouTube. I'm actually surprised it's not higher. 71% of Americans use Facebook. Over 50% use Instagram. Yeah, social media day.
You know that, like, I think 121 minutes a day is like a full month every year.
Yeah, it probably does add up to that. You're exactly right. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to celebrate social media day, but I am always appreciative of the time of Mike McCleary from Intervine. Mike, appreciate you being here. Look forward to talking again very soon. Have a great rest of your day, my friend.
Same here, guys. Talk soon.
Awesome stuff there, Mike McCleary from Intervine. That's going to do it for us today. Colombo and Company back tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, keep it here. Larry's commentary is next. Then the Tim Jones and Chris Hart Show.
And I feel the time's a ways to go. As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at Vincents.com, or better yet, see these lab-grown diamonds in person. You're going to be amazed at the beauty and the price. Vincent's Jewelers, VincentsJewelers.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Question: when did hate of the president become hate of the USA? Answer: obviously when Trump was elected. For way too many, their view of our nation is dismal. Here we are celebrating 250 years as a nation, and millions across the world would want to come to America. But these pseudo-Americans have no pride in the USA. An Economist YouGov survey finds 25% surveyed consider America to be worse than average of other nations. 4% say the USA is the worst. Why? Political divide. Only 8% of those describing themselves as Democrats, only 8% describe America as the greatest. Of course, nowadays, Democrats are deeply fractured. And if you believe in socialism, Marxism, communism, then you would not like American freedoms. Previous surveys found nearly 4 in 10 Democrats, 4 in 10, are ashamed to be Americans. You know what? That is a two-way street. If you're ashamed to be an American, I'm ashamed of you. So why are they still here? We know the answer.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Spring weather has everyone sneezing, even inside their home or building. Instead of saying Gesundheit, call Wellington Environmental to perform air tests to determine if mold levels are too high. Gesundheit is the same as saying bless you.